Hey guys, my name is Josh Walker. Welcome back to another video about making music. In today's video, I'm going to show you 6 different ways that you can make your music sound better. Let's jump in. The first thing to say is that there are small steps and there are broad strokes. These concepts that I'm going to show you today, these are broad strokes. These are things that you put at the end of your mix to make it sound better at the end after you've done a lot of things up front. This is where you're going to get the biggest bang for your buck. It's a way of thinking too. It's not just, you don't have to use these same plugins that I'm about to show you, but if you kind of have this in your mind like a workflow, you're going to do so much better. These 6 plugins are going to go on what's called your stereo bus, the very last fader that all of your music goes into. So you have your drums, bass, guitars, keyboards, and all that kind of stuff. It's going to eventually get to this one track, okay? And if these are the steps that I follow in order, and you can do the same to make your music sound better. First step, number 1, is console emulation. Back in the day, there used to be a lot of big high-end studios that would have these big consoles. The vibe of those consoles and just plugging instruments in, it just made things sound better. They have come up with a way to emulate that kind of console with a plugin. Now the plugin that I use is from Slate Digital. I love their plugins. You gotta check them out. There's a knob on this one that has 6 different famous consoles that you can choose from. This plugin actually is on every single channel so that it really takes my digital, everything is digitalized. It's not this analog board that costs millions of dollars. You wanna kind of get that flavor and get that vibe without needing to have a big console. So this plugin gives us a little bit of that old awesome flavor without kind of overdoing anything. Plugin number 2, after I'm using my console emulation, plugin number 2 is EQ. Everything has been sweetened along the way. Drums, bass, guitar, vocals, they've all been EQ'd and compressed, and effects, and they've all been changed in some way. But this is EQ on the master bus, okay? So we got console emulation, then we got EQ. Usually what I'm doing at this stage is I'm EQing the whole mix. I'm taking a little bit, maybe a little bit more bottom, a little bit more high end. Maybe I'm tweaking a few things here. Like I'm gonna use my ears in the room to kind of mess with these broad strokes, and you don't wanna go too far, because if you go too far, it's really like you might be undoing what you did in the mix. Like if you're cooking, it's like a little bit of salt just to make it pop a little bit more, make the flavors come out a little bit more. So that's how I use EQ. It's a really important step. You can EQ your whole mix. This is gonna be applied to everything in your mix, so it's gonna make it better. Plugin number 3 is compression. Literally just turning on the compressor and not having it do any compression makes it sound better. There's a little bit of voodoo in there. I do dial back the input gain 5.5 dB so that I'm not cheating myself because it's louder. So what this is gonna do is it's gonna take the loudest parts and bring it down, and it's gonna raise the lower parts, and it's just gonna make a more consistent mix. Now, you don't wanna overdo compression, because if you overdo compression, then you're gonna lose the transients on your drums. It's gonna start to sound real just squished. You don't wanna do that, but one tip for that is to slow down the attack time. So a slow attack, maybe a fast release, depends on what kind of song. If it's a slower song, maybe you want a longer release, but this type of compression at this level is low ratio, so 2:0, 1.5. It's really low ratio. You don't wanna hit it too hard. Maybe 1 dB to 3 dB of gain reduction. It's gonna really make it sound amazing. The 4th plugin to use on your master bus to make your music sound better is tape emulation. So this is the same kind of concept as console emulation. Music used to be run through tape, and for whatever reason, the way that the tape made the music sound, it had a deepness to it, a richness to it. There are now virtual plugins that kind of have that same effect. I don't know actually how to explain this other than the fact that, like, when I bypass it and when I turn it off, music just sounds better with it on. So it's kind of like it fits this category of like, what is it doing? I don't even know what it's doing, but It makes it a little bit more full. It makes it a little bit more sweet. It makes it a little bit less digital. I actually use Slate Digital's virtual tape machine, and I really love it a lot. There are other versions of that, but it's an amazing plugin, and it will make your music sound awesome. Plugin number 5, we got console emulation, we got EQ, we got compression, we got virtual tape machines. The next plugin number 5, is gonna be Mix Centric from Greg Wells and Waves. I love this plugin. You can really overdo this plugin by dialing up too much, but I really love this plugin. And really, I use it really subtly. Only like 2 or 3, maybe 4. I just dial it up a little bit, and it just makes the bottom hit more. It brings more clarity. It brings a little bit more top end. So it just makes my music sound a little bit better. It's in that same category as the console collections and the virtual tape machines. It's just a level of voodoo, really, that makes it just sound better. I don't really know how to explain it, but it just sounds better. I know I keep saying that, but that's really a little bit here and there of a combination of all 6 of these takes your mix from sounding kind of bland and kind of like ugh to, man, that sounds like a professional mix. And so I love Mix Centric. It's plugin number 5. Plugin number 6 is really a no-brainer because it's the last plugin that all of your music is gonna hit, but it's a limiter. I use FGX. I really find that I can push it loud without it kind of distorting things too much in any way. And it's very transparent. You still have the transients and you still have the length that you want. It doesn't make it sound crushed. It makes it sound beautiful and better. And so I just dial it up. I have a rule when I'm mixing that I don't go too far, because when I take a song into the mastering process, I don't want there to be not enough headroom for the mastering engineer to make it even louder. Or if I'm mastering myself, I'll just make sure that that is set to 0. But what's interesting about FGX is that you can literally bypass it on and off without turning the knob up, and it does make it sound better. That is my 6 plugins to make your music sound better. Let me know if you have plugins that I don't know about that you put on your mix bus to make your music sound better. Hit me up in the comments below. If you like this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up, and we'll see you on the next one. Whoosh.